Okay, so you've got information about the SAC in front of you, the sheet that I just handed out. So it's 2 weeks away. 2 weeks is actually really, really close. It's gonna be here before you know it. We're gonna finish chapter 5 next Tuesday. So we're doing B and C today, D on Friday, and E next Tuesday. So you'll have a couple of lessons to prepare for the SAC, but it's not going to be much. So the dates are all there. Thank you if you've already told me you're going to be away. Um, if you are going to be away because you are sick, you must get a medical certificate. Okay, you can't just stay home because I'll just skip school today, pretend I was sick or whatever, and then just turn up. We won't let you do the SAC. Okay, it's very strict in year 12 because it's not fair on everyone else who was organized and there on the day they were supposed to be. Yes, Jason.
What if you miss the Tuesday back on the Friday? Can you do it after that?
No, so you can have the full writing time at a different time, but you must have a medical certificate or document. Okay.
Did you get a haircut?
Yes, my dad gave me a small trim when I went back. Yeah.
Very clean.
All right.
Fresh as hell.
So the other thing I want you to remember is that the SAC goes for 5 periods. So it's gonna be a long SAC. But I'm hoping that you won't need all 5 periods. That you will have some time to check over your work, and that you're not going to feel rushed as you're doing the SAC. Okay. All right. So you get some reading time. Standard items are allowed. You are allowed both a CAS and a scientific calculator. If you have both calculators, you should bring them. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is that it's open book. So you can bring basically everything you want. You can't bring a laptop, obviously, but you can have your textbook, your bound reference, your workbook. You cannot have personal assistance during the SAC.
What if Brian's lights are all down?
Brian can write his own SAC, but he cannot write your SAC. No.
No, but what if Brian writes down on a separate piece of paper?
No. I will not entertain collusion like that. All right, so just remember the SAC's open book, but you can only use one bound reference at the end of the year. So we'll talk more about how to organize that. I have almost finished writing the SAC. Once I've finished writing it, I will tell you which sections not to study for. But it's almost everything. So I'll drop a couple of exercises. But yeah, like if it's definitely not on the SAC, I will tell you so that you don't spend unnecessary time studying for that. All right, I've copied and pasted some stuff from the study design, so you can read that in your own time. Just want you to note that the SAC has 3 parts. The first part's the easiest, the third part's the hardest, and this gives you an idea of what happens in each part. So I'll let you read that. The other thing is the SAC assesses outcome 1, 2, and 3. Do you know what outcome 1, 2, and 3 is? So I gave this information out at the start of Head Start. So outcome 1 is normal stuff. Outcome 3 is the calculator. Outcome 2 is the modeling and problem solving in anything that is not standard. What I want you to know is half the marks are from outcome 2. So most of what you see in this SAC is going to be unfamiliar, and you'll need to decide which topics you're going to apply to solve a question. And I'm not going to tell you which method to use. So I'll just give you some data, and you'll have to decide whether to draw a histogram or a box plot or a scatter plot. You'll have to decide what statistics to calculate. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, so as I said last Friday, I can't tell you how many marks there are for a single question. I'm not going to tell you how long your response should be. So when you write your answers, you're just going to get lined paper. You're not going to have like the exam questions where I give you like 3 lines for a 1-mark question. All right, so that's the SAC. Think of it as a long a sort of longer extended response task. So there's no multiple choice, it's all extended response, and you have to make the decisions about which statistics you're going to use. Okay. If you've got any more questions about the SAC, let me know. It's 2 weeks away. I don't think I can give you much more information. VCAR is vague, and that means I have to do what they say, which is annoying. All right. So no questions? All right. Let's carry on with our study of time series then. This is on the SAC. Yeah, it's on the SAC. So again, I think this is lighter than the other content we've been doing on transformations and linear regression. So just like last lesson, I'm hoping that today will feel a bit easier as well. So today's lesson is all about smoothing a time series. What do you think that might mean? Smoothing. What? Yeah, that's a step in the right direction. When we're not dealing with maths, what does it mean to make something smooth? That's right. So, if you've seen time series like the stock market, you'll have seen they're pretty bumpy. They go up and down a lot. And last lesson, we introduced a word to describe the long-term pattern of a time series, whether it was going up or down. Does anyone remember what that term was? Seasonality is the repetitions. Trend. Okay? So the reason why we want to smooth a time series is to get a better idea of what the trend looks like. So you might have a time series that looks like this. It's wiggling all the time. That's a pretty normal time series. But overall, it looks like there's sort of an upward trend happening here. So if we can smooth, maybe we'll get something a bit more like this without worrying about the bumps and the seasonality. I have to say though that in the real world we don't use these methods. We use the methods that you saw in that manual that I passed around last lesson, but they're quite demanding. Okay, so I've already said this. So we want to get the trend, and I've lost the mouse again. Oh no, it's here. We want to get the trend, and we're going to remove or reduce the impact of seasonality and irregular fluctuation. So that's the random variation we saw in the time series last lesson as well. Okay. There are two ways that we can smooth a time series. I'm going to put the names on the board. We're going to look at the harder one first, moving mean. And then later we'll look at the moving mean. And when we do moving mean smoothing, it can either be with an odd or even number of values. So I'll start with odd. All right, so this notation might be a bit strange looking to you. Let's start by looking on the right-hand side. So on top, I've got some values, and that's like my time value. Is that okay? So I tried to do something with stock prices, and I ran out of time, so I've just given you some of the data. This is actually some of the stock prices for Woolworths in the last month. Okay, so maybe I can develop this into an activity for next week for you to practice on, but I just didn't have time, I'm sorry. So this is like 8 days after the end of February. Okay, So I've got some values for each day. And I know that there's going to be some up and down behavior. So I want to capture just the main pattern of what's going on. So what I'm going to say here is this is y6, this is y7, this is y8, this is y9, this is y10. Is that okay? So all I've said is for every time value n, I'm going to define the value of the time series as y subscript n. Okay? Yes, Kaylin. Get your yes. Okay. So if you're comfortable with this idea, then you should see over here on the left-hand side, this is also a time series. I just haven't specified what the value n is. Is that okay? So this, for example, this could be the time point I'm interested in. And what I'm saying is, there are some points that come after, and there are some points that come before in time. Is that okay? All right. So when we smooth a time series, we're going to have to make use of the value that we're interested in and some values around as well. So we're actually going to calculate an average, either the mean or the median here. So I'll give you the formula. The smooth value for just this value yn is the average or the mean of these three values. So I'm calculating a mean here. So what should my denominator be? Yeah, because there's three values here. Have I lost you? Okay. So I taught it this way last year, and I was a bit worried that I lost the class. So let me do an example here with the real numbers, with the actual Woolworths numbers. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, so my goal here, this is an example. I know that on day number 8, the Woolworths share price was $36.77. But I want to take into account what's happened the day before and the day after. So I'm going to do some smoothing. So instead of just using 36.77, I'm going to take an average of three values. The value on that day, the day before, and the day after. So it's going to look like this. This is the day before. This is the current day, day 8. And this is the day after, 36.25. And I just divide the whole thing by 3. It's y7, y8, y9. So does that help now that I've used the actual numbers? Okay. So please see that I've used these values in the table, and I'm interested in the smooth value of y8. All right, and that's something to put into the calculator, which I can do for you. All right, Kai, you've caught my attention because you've got the sunglasses on. So, can you just remind us, so that we see the big picture, why do we want to smooth the time series?
So we can see just like the overall trend.
Great.
Instead of all the weird little ones.
Okay, can we see the trend from this calculation? So I've only got one smooth point. So in practice, if you want to see the trend, you're going to have to apply the smoothing method to every single point. So we've calculated the smooth value for one point, but I have to do it for every single point in the time series before I can see the trend. Can you see this is going to take a long time to do? All right. So in practice, it's gonna rarely will you ever do it. You won't do it on the exam. You won't smooth a whole series. You'll smooth 1 point or 2 points just to demonstrate your understanding. Okay. I'll give you more info on what I'm looking for on the stack once I've finalized it. But can you just give me a nod if you're happy for me to move on from this? Okay. All right, so the big idea is we're trying to get the trend of a time series by taking averages. I have to take the averages of every single point. Here, we found an average using 3 points. The next example, we're going to do it with 5 points. So again, I'm going to give you the formula. This time, it's going to be this. Can you see that I'm using 5 points now? So why should I divide by 5 now instead of 3? It's 5 points. I'm finding the mean of 5 points. Okay, so this time, so the numbers are all the same. I'm going to use 5 points. I still want to find the smooth value of y8, which is the one in the middle. So instead of going 1 before and 1 after, now I'm going to go 2 before and 2 after. So this time, to get the smooth value of y8, I'm going to do y6 plus y7 plus y8 plus y9 plus y10 over 5. So I'm just going to add all the numbers up. Alright, how are we feeling about this? Is this okay? Yes, Ken?
I can remind you this. Add all of those numbers together and divide by 5.
Yeah. So the reason why I've chosen these 5 numbers is because I want the smooth value at the time point 8. So if I want the smooth value at time 6, I need to go 2 after and 2 before. Okay?
What if there isn't 2 before?
Great question. So,
Figure it out using the one you have and then use this before.
okay, so let's imagine I had a time series starting at, all right, Tom's question, what happens if you don't have enough points? So let's imagine we have a time series starting at 0. Let's suppose I wanted to find the smooth value at time 0. What would I need to do? I would need some points after, that's okay, and I would need some points before. But this is the start of the time series, so I don't have a data point before. So if you don't have enough points, then you can't get the smooth value. Okay, so in practice, when you estimate your trend, you're going to have this problem at the start and the finish of the time series because you won't have points before or after. Okay. That's a great question, Tom. And it does come up in the questions as well, in the textbook. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so I started with the harder one, which is mean smoothing. So notice that 3 and 5 were odd numbers, right? So I started off by going 1 before, 1 after. Then I went 2 before, 2 after. Perhaps you're seeing I can keep going. So I could do 7 mean smoothing with 3 before, 3 after. 9 mean smoothing with 4 before, 4 after. Yes, Tim?
What do you accomplish by having more?
That's a great question as well. So the more points you use, the smoother your series becomes. So if you use more points, you get a better approximation of the trend. The downside of using more points is you lose more points at the ends because you run out of points. Okay?
And is that one number that we come up with?
1 point, 1 number for every time point. So you have to redo this calculation for every point. And that's why the only time you will do this for a whole series is probably the SAC. That's what I'm planning. Okay, but I'll talk you through it because the textbook doesn't go into that level of depth. Is that a question, man?
How do you know if you don't specify? How do you know if you use 3 point or 5 point?
Great question. So in the real world, there's no right answer. It's all about judgment. So on the SAC, I will probably give you the freedom to choose whichever one you want. That's what I've thought at the moment. But don't worry, I'll be very clear on what I want you to do over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so don't stress about that.
What if I were to alternate? So when I'm on 8, I use the 5. When I'm on 7, I use the 3.
No, so you need to use a consistent method for all the points. Okay. Now it becomes a little bit more. I don't know what the word is. The calculation is a bit longer when you've got an even number. So, can you see before? Let's say I wanted to find the smooth value of yn. I can get 3 values by going 1 before and 1 after, right? It's a nice symmetry where the time that I want is in the center. But if I only use 2 values, I actually can't do that now. Because if I just use yn plus 1, I'm kind of trying to approximate what happens in the middle. Does that make sense? So somehow I can't just do the same thing as what I did previously. So let me try to explain.
What happens here? I need to make sure I read the right formulas.
Okay, this is what's happening. So my goal is still to find the smooth value of y8, which is this value here. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to calculate 2 means and then average the 2 means. So just take a look at this. Can you see that if each rectangle is representing a mean, if I average the 2, I kind of get the middle back now? Yes, I'm sorry, but this is what it is, okay? So I'm going to call the first mean M1, the textbook doesn't do this, but I just want to give it a symbol. Divided by 2. That's it. Okay. So I'll do the calculation for you. The main thing is, oops, no, that's not right. 36.845. Okay, that's it. So I'll let you copy that down. I personally find I find this less intuitive because there's two means. I find the odd one a lot easier, but this is the idea. You're starting at one point, and then you're going one across. Then you do the same thing on the other side, and then you take the two averages together. Yes. Great. Yeah, this is a good question. Okay, so now I love these questions. All right. So before we defined the smooth value as m1 plus m2 on 2, where m1 was yn minus 1 plus yn on 2, and m2 was yn plus 1 on 2. Okay, so watch what happens if I do this algebraically. So this is what you get. So what's happening here is the middle value is gaining more weight. When we do this with, so this is 2 mean. When we do 4 mean in a moment, we'll define m1 equals yn minus 2 plus yn minus 1 plus yn plus yn plus 1 divided by 4. m2 as yn minus 1 plus yn plus yn plus 1 plus yn plus 2, all divided by 4. And this time we'll get m1 plus m2 on 2 equals yn minus 2 plus 2yn minus 1 plus 2yn plus 2yn plus 1 plus yn minus 2 divided by 8. So the center values are contributing more to the weighted average, and then the endpoints at the far left and right are contributing less. So if, as the analyst, you think this is a better idea, and you're using a computer program, then it does all the work for you. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's one. Center gets more weight, endpoints get less weight. Yes, ma'am.
Apart from a very specific term that means this, where are we going to use this in the real world?
It's a good question. You might not. You might not.
It's a final one.
conceptually, the idea is you want to find a long-term pattern in a time series. So if you've bought stock, you might ask, is this company doing well? You've got to look at the growth, right? So you can use whatever tools you have at your disposal. So you can use mathematical tools, or you can just look at it with your eye. So if you're in business, then you actually care a lot about this. If you're not in business, then yeah, you might not care as much about this. I've chosen this year not to give you these formulas because the book doesn't teach you these. Personally, I find this easier, but maybe you won't. So, yeah. Okay, so this time we'll do the 4 moving mean smoothing. So again, we want the smooth value of y8. So this time, please notice I'm going one after in this direction, and I'm going one before in this direction. I think this is not as clear in the text. So one mean will go 1 point after, because you need an even number of points, you see. So if you use the current point and the one after, you'll get 2. So to get 4, I need to go 2 before. All right. So again, it's this average where m1 is yn minus 2 plus yn minus 1 plus yn plus yn plus 1 divided by 4. So it's up to you whether you want to write the right-hand side down. In this case,
Your right hand or our right hand?
the left-hand side of the screen. So I will say in the real world, and I promise you I have left school and been to the real world, people don't do this by hand, they use computers.
And it came back.
I did come back. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. All right, so I won't do the calculation. Like, you can put that in if you want. The number's not important. The idea is important. You're trying to smooth the time series to get the trend. We smooth 1 point. In practice, to get the trend, you need to smooth all the points. Okay, but look at how long that took, right? Wouldn't it be better if we had a quicker method than smoothing using the mean?
And we do.
We do. We smooth using the median.
No.
Okay, so median smoothing is much easier because you can just do it on the graph by drawing. Okay. All right, so can I move to the next? Yeah. Let me just double check that I've got these right before I release this to you. Yes. Okay, so don't worry. I didn't give you the actual formula, so that's fine. Okay, so when we smooth, we only use odd numbers for the median in this course. So just make a note of that. All right, so before, when we smooth using the mean, we took 3 values one before, the current one, and the one after, and we found the mean. What do you think we're going to do this time? What word should go in the blank line there, do you think? Instead of finding the mean, we're going to find the median. Not necessarily. That's a good question though. It's only yn if the numbers are in ascending order. Remember, to find the median, you've got to sort your data first. Okay. So, again, we are looking at y8. So, I want to find the median of these three numbers here. So I'll write them in, so start by writing in order. They're kind of already in order, just descending order, so I'll write them this way. So which one's the median here? Okay. That's it. What? So there's no calculation to do. You just got to put them in order and then find the middle one, because that's how you find the median. So if I give you a choice to choose whichever smoothing method you like on your SAC, you might want to think about which one's going to be easier to use. Yep. Okay. So I'll very quickly do 5. Oh. Sorry. 1 second. I thought I had another page. Okay, with the magic of technology, we can change stuff. Because I'm not writing all that again. That'll be a waste of your time. Okay. Okay, look at that. All right, so this time we're using 5 moving median smoothing. This time I'll use 5 values instead of 3. So again, we want to write the values in ascending order. So I'll leave it to you to verify that this is what you should do. Uh-oh, I'm out of room. Yeah. Okay. So this time I'm using 5 values, so I'm going to use all the data here to find the smooth value for 1 point. So which one is the median of those 5 numbers? No, these ones here. Yeah.
Yeah, so 36.7.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so notice it's actually the value here. But if the numbers were in a different order, you might find you used a different time point for your median. Okay? I'm sure you like the median one better, right? Because there's no calculation to do.
Yeah.
Whichever one I think is from now.
I might just quickly show you what an exam question looks like. and then I'll let you get started on some questions. So if you turn to page, yes, please turn to page 29 and 30 of the exam booklet. This will give you an idea of what you're asked to do at the end of the year. 29 and 30, and I'm using the page numbers at the bottom.
And we can start to unlock it. And we can start to unlock it.
Yes, you can.
What did you say? Wait, yeah.
Whoops. Uh-oh. What did I do? Okay.
It's like they travel from Pakistan, but they just
All right. So this is going to be instructive because unless things change dramatically between now and a couple of weeks, I'm planning for you to draw a time series like this on the sack and for you to smooth it. So this question is asking you to find a smooth value for day 14, which is here. And we want to use 5 median smoothing. So let's see if we can apply what we just did. Notice it's on a picture now. That actually makes it easier, by the way.
Like, do you even have to do 5 median smoothing? Because it's just weird saying numbers if you do 3 median smoothing.
Not necessarily.
No?
Because you have to sort the numbers in order first. So if your time series is doing this, your median's going to change all the time.
Yeah, but if you're finding the same, so if you had the 3 median method where you need to find the yn of, you know, like, if you had the same number for both 3 moving medians and 5 moving median, it'd be the same number. You still have the 2 same numbers.
Not necessarily. So once you add more numbers, the order can change once you sort them, you see? So the one that ends up in the middle could be different. Okay. Alright. Which day numbers should we use to solve this question?
Days 15, 16, and 12.
Okay. So 12 to 16. That's 5 data points. So I'm really looking at this, that's 14 here. So I'm really looking at this part of the time series now. Okay. Which one's the median? Which one's the middle out of those 5? This one? No.
No?
I want the median in terms of the y value along.
20.
This one's the middle one.
Oh, yeah.
So if I apply 5 median smoothing to day 14, I actually take the number from day 15. Okay?
That's it.
And that's it.
Sick.
And then in the next part of the question, which we won't do now, they ask you to do the last couple of points. So it might just be worth looking at this time series. Yeah. So can you see how before we've got bigger peaks in gray? Once we do the smoothing, the variation away from its trend, it's not as large now. So do you think this is smoother?
Yeah.
Just looking at the series?
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like. I'm going to try to show you what the Woolworths data looks like when it's smoothed now. I'm going to do some programming and try to show it to you this class. But that's actually all I wanted to show you today as far as theory goes. So we've covered both 5 5B and 5C now. 5B is moving me, the harder one. 5C is moving me. Yeah, go get it. All right, so you got plenty to do. Yes, Anthony? Yeah, okay.
No, maybe it's Sunday to Monday.
Yes, Darren? Yeah.
Do we have a plan?
No.
No. Yeah.